Last night, you went somewhere with no rules. People became other people. The dead spoke to you. Maybe you flew, and you believed every second of it until you opened your eyes. We call that a dream. The unsettling part is not what happened in there. It is that you cannot prove, right now, that you are not still in one. A man worked that out 2,300 years ago, and he did not come back the same. In the warring kingdoms of ancient China, an age when rival states bled each other white, a man fell asleep under the afternoon sun, and he dreamed he was a butterfly, not a man watching a butterfly, flitting from flower to flower, weightless, content. In the dream he had never heard of the man. He had no memory of ever being anything but wings and warm air. Then he woke, and there he was again, solid, unmistakable, a man lying in the grass with a man's heavy body and a man's name. But something had cracked, because for one long moment he could not answer the simplest question in the world. Was he a man who had just dreamed he was a butterfly, or was he a butterfly right now, dreaming it was a man? And he had no way to tell, none. The sleeper was Zhuangzi. History remembers him as Zhuangzi, which means Master Zhuang. He lived around the 4th century before Christ, and almost everything else about him shades into legend. He was a Taoist, a follower of the Tao, the Way, one of the oldest philosophies on earth, built on a single humbling idea, that the universe moves by a pattern far too vast for any mind to grasp or command, and that wisdom is not mastering the world, but flowing with it, the way water flows around a stone. His stories were gathered after his death into a book that still carries his name, the Zhuangzi, strange, funny, slippery, and bottomless. And of everything in it, the butterfly is the line the world never forgot. A few sentences at the close of its 2nd chapter. That chapter carries a quiet, enormous title, On Making All Things Equal, and it ends like this. In Burton Watson's translation, he did not know if he was Zhuangzi who had dreamt he was a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming he was Zhuangzi, and then the words that have haunted philosophy for 2,000 years. Between Zhuangzi and a butterfly there must be some distinction. This is called the transformation of things. It would be easy to read that as a clever trick. It is not. Zhuangzi meant it. His whole 2nd chapter is an attack on one human habit, our certainty, our endless confident sorting of the world into this and that, real and unreal, me and not me. He thought every one of those lines was drawn by one creature, in one spot, looking through one tiny window, and that we mistake our window for the whole sky. He had a friend who made the perfect target for this, a brilliant logician named Huizi, a master of argument, the kind of man who wins every debate and misses every point. One day they were crossing a bridge over the Hao River. Zhuangzi looked at the fish darting below and said, "See how the minnows flicker about, free and easy. That is the happiness of fish." Huizi pounced. "You are not a fish. How do you know what makes fish happy?" And Zhuangzi, smiling, said, "You are not me. How do you know that I do not know what makes fish happy?" It sounds like wordplay. It is the whole thing. Huizi was certain of the wall between one mind and another. Zhuangzi showed that the wall is softer than Huizi needs it to be. If you can never truly get inside a fish, you can never truly get inside me either. And yet here we stand, knowing each other anyway. The boundaries blur. They always blur. So when Zhuangzi cannot tell the man from the butterfly, he is not panicking. He is pointing at the blur and asking you to look. But look what he set loose. Because once you take the butterfly seriously, you cannot put it down. You think you know which one you are. The man, the waking person, not the dreamer. But how? What test could you run right now that a dream could not perfectly forge? Your hands look real. Dreams have hands. The room feels solid. Dreams feel solid until you wake. Every proof you reach for, the dream already knows how to counterfeit. You have simply agreed, by long habit, never to ask. 2,000 years later, on the far side of the world, the same doubt walked into a cold room in Holland. René Descartes, a soldier turned mathematician, one of the sharpest minds Europe ever produced. In 1641, he published a small, earth-moving book, Meditations on First Philosophy, and in it he tried an experiment no one had dared push so far. He decided to doubt everything, as a method. He would tear down every belief that could possibly be false, and see what was left standing on bedrock. He looked at the fire in front of him, the paper in his hand, and he remembered with a chill that he had sat by fires and held papers in dreams, and believed them every time. So how could he be certain this was not just another, more convincing dream? He could not, and so, like Zhuangzi, he let the floor go. Then he went darker than the butterfly ever did. What if it is not just a dream? He asked. What if there is a deceiver? An evil genius of infinite power, devoting its entire existence to fooling him, forging the sky, the earth, his own hands, feeding him a seamless world that is nothing but a lie? He searched for a way to rule it out. He could not find one, and neither, sitting where you are sitting, can you. This is the doubt this channel is named for. The if you cannot argue your way out of. The cell with no door. But Descartes found one thing the demon could not steal. Suppose it deceives him about everything. Then there has to be a him there to be deceived. You cannot trick a thing that does not exist. I am. I exist. True the instant he thinks it. Dreaming or waking, demon or no demon. The one fact that survives total doubt. The most famous rescue in the history of thought. And here is what almost no one notices. Look how little it saves. It proves that something is thinking. That is all. It does not hand back the fire, or the sky, or the face in the mirror. Descartes is certain that he exists, and certain of almost nothing else. A single mind, awake in the dark, with no proof that any world exists outside it at all. So how did he climb out? This is the part the textbooks rush past, and for us, it is the most important part of all. Descartes could rebuild the world on only one foundation, God. He argued his way to a perfect God who, by his very nature, would not stoop to deceive. And only then, leaning his whole weight on a God who would not lie to him, did he let himself believe in the fire again, in his own hands, in the world. Sit with that. The father of modern doubt could not escape the dream on his own. To wake up, he had to reach for God. And Zhuangzi, across all those centuries, never reached for anything. He never tried to escape at all, because this doubt belongs to no single age. It keeps finding us in different clothes. Plato pictured prisoners chained in a cave, watching shadows on a wall, certain the shadows were the world. In India, the sages called it Maya, the idea that all you see is a veil over something far more real. And in our own century, the philosopher Nick Bostrom set it out in cold arithmetic and asked whether we are living inside a computer simulation. Different costumes, the same vertigo. 3,000 years of human beings, quietly touching their own faces and wondering. But come back to Zhuangzi, because he does something almost no one dares. He is not afraid of it. Descartes met this abyss and recoiled, and clawed his way back to solid ground with God's hand to pull him up. Zhuangzi met the same abyss, sat down at the edge of it, and smiled. He was never trying to prove the world is fake. He was pointing at something stranger, the transformation of things. If you genuinely cannot tell whether you are the man or the butterfly, maybe the line between them was never as hard as you believed. Man, butterfly, waking, sleeping. You and everything that is not you. The way flows through all of it. The way water becomes mist, becomes rain, becomes river again. Nothing is fixed. Everything is mid-transformation, always. And if the wall between you and everything else is that soft, then so is the tightest cell of all, the cage of being only, anxiously, permanently you. Follow that thread all the way down, and you reach the thing every human being fears, death. And here Zhuangzi tells the strangest story in the book. When his wife died, Huizi came to mourn her. But he found Zhuangzi sitting on the ground, legs sprawled out, banging on an upturned tub, and singing. Huizi was appalled. "This woman lived with you," he said. "She raised your children and grew old at your side. Not to weep would be bad enough, but to drum and sing?" And Zhuangzi answered quietly, "When she first died, of course I grieved like anyone, but then I looked back, before her death, to her birth, before her birth, to before she had a body, before she had even a spirit. A change came, and she had a spirit. Another change, a body, another, and she was born. And now one more change has come, and she is dead. It is like the turning of the four seasons. To sit here wailing against it would only prove that I understand nothing about fate. You do not weep for the butterfly when the dreamer opens his eyes. For Zhuangzi, death was not a wall at the end of the dream. It was the next turning, another waking into something he could not yet name. So here are your two doors, and the unbearable, honest thing is that they open from the very same dream. One opens onto dread. You can never be certain of anything, not the world, not yourself, not God, and that is a prison with no key. The other opens onto freedom. You can never be certain of anything, and that is the end of having to be, the end of clinging, the end of the exhausting work of being the frightened center of a frightened world. Descartes ran for the first door and needed God to open it. Zhuangzi walked through the second, alone, laughing softly. And nothing in the butterfly itself tells you which of them was right. Tonight, maybe around 3 a.m., this is going to come for you. You will lie in the dark, and for one cold second you will feel it, that the life you are so sure you are living might not be the life you think, that you could be the butterfly, that you could be the dream. You will not be able to prove it away. No one in 3,000 years has managed to. But maybe the question was never the one we keep asking. Maybe it was never, is this real? Maybe the real question, the whole time, was quieter. Whether you can hold a life you cannot be certain of, gently, without crushing it. The way you would hold a butterfly that had landed, for no reason at all, on your open hand. You are going to wake up tomorrow and call today real. Just remember, so did he. If this gave you something to sit with tonight, subscribe and stay in the dream a little longer with me. Next, we follow Descartes all the way down. Descartes' demon. How do you know, right now, that you are awake? Wait and hope.